Hey, hey, hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I am so glad y'all are here. I got like a few seconds because I still got this dog till a little later today. And honey, I done gave him some peanut butter on the lick pad and I hope it work out. So Target, can we talk about Target for just a little bit? As many of you know, there was a boycott that lasted 400 or so days. Um, Asking folk to not go into Target until they took action on four critical uh, strategies. There was no leader of this movement, but the person who was standing out in front most of the time was Pastor Jamal Bryant. Now, listen, it's been 14 months since I've been on my anti consumerism campaign anyway. So I don't know how much this applies to me because I wasn't buying a whole bunch of stuff anyway. Now I got this grand dog and I needed to get him some toys and some food because I thought that the toys would keep him occupied. I violated my whole little anti-consumerism thing, and he destroyed the toys in 2 days anyway, further proving my point. But that's neither here nor there. Target. So we January 24th, I think the presidential inauguration was on the 21st of 2025. In January 2024, like 3 days later, Target put out this bullseye campaign. Now, I must back up and just say that, first of all, you should know that I have not gone to a Phillips 66 since they got accused of racial discrimination, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago. I ain't been to a Denny's since they got accused of racial discrimination several years ago. I have not bought Papa John's pizza, and it was my favorite pizza of all time since their CEO uh, in 2016 or 17 came out and said something that was racially discriminatory. Honey, I know how to personally boycott a brand. Do you hear me? Like if I'm upset about something you did, I ain't gonna be there. Now, see, now I made the dog the lick pad and he in here tearing it up. Hold on just a second. Because that costs too much. So I'm not capping for Target, but what I do know is that in 2022, COVID had happened in 2020, of course. In 20, after George Floyd had been murdered in front of all of us, after Breonna Taylor was shot in her bed sleeping, and listen, all these folks came out and said, "Hey, we care about racial equity. We can't believe we haven't seen this." Folks was reading Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. They reading Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy. They out here learning about knapsacks and privilege. When folks picked up, what is it called? How to raise an anti-racist baby. I was like, okay, these folks, I was thinking folks serious, you know what I'm saying? However, my work is leadership development. And part of helping leaders to be good at what they do is teaching them how to get the best out of a lot of different types of people, make those people feel like they belong. Honestly, because they got a job to do, right? Like they got a job to do. And you can't do that job well if people come to work worried about who they are as a person, blah, 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 blah. And so I remember thinking to myself, you know what, this is good. This is good for organizations. All the data has said the same. But I've also almost, I've been in this body a long time, right? And so being in this body a long time, I kind of know what was going to happen. The book is actually really good. You should read it. Dr. Joy DeGruy did a fantastic job. And so what was interesting was, as I was talking to folks, I have a unique ability, or I guess I should say privilege, that I might be in Madison Square Garden one day, and then the very next day be in Rappahannock County, Virginia. I might be in the Bay Area in California, and then the next thing you know, I'm in the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. And so I get to see lots of different types of people all throughout this here United States of America. My whole life I've been in Jackson County, Missouri, and then also in Coahoma County, Mississippi, and just to see how people think differently about stuff. And so what I could tell was that there's this tension, this pull, especially around race, that was like going two opposite directions. Some people going, wait a minute, what? And another group of people going, yay, let's go. And so I was like, look, ain't none of this gonna work if we don't have no empathy. If people don't understand stuff from the other person's point of view. And so I started working on empathy. I wrote a book about it in 2022. Some people say that it was a pivot. I don't know if it was as much a pivot as I said, gosh, if people don't understand that the basics of difference is here, that you can't do nothing about it, and that everyone wants to feel like they belong. If people don't understand just the basics of that, and that many of us show up with our biases against people, if we don't have that, just that base, then none of this stuff is going to work. That's kind of where I was going with it. And you all know what happened. You know, election results in 2024, presidential change in 2025, rollbacks of all the DEI work. And so Target, this dog is finished, so I got to hurry up. Target came out early. They thought they was getting in front of it, I think. And they said, we remain focused on driving our business by creating a sense of belonging for our team. They're using words and not labels. And I'm not capping for Target, y'all. And then they said, we're constantly listening and learning and adjusting to set ourselves up for long-term success. We don't want the Doge train on our butts. That's what I read. Our team will recruit and retain team members who represent the communities we serve. The communities we serve are diverse, right? Like they're trying to be stealth. They're doing this 3 days after the election. Our guests, we aim to create a joyful experience throughout an assortment of products and services that help all guests feel seen and celebrated. Now, what they're trying to do here is all lives matter this thing, but again, trying to keep the weight off their backs. And we build deep and lasting relationships with the communities we serve, driving impact, economic vitality, and connection that fuels loyalty. Now, the second half of that statement is where they got in trouble. And folks always saying like, well, why Target? Well, we had invited Target to the cookout. Black folks had, right? Target was like in the group. Target is headquartered in Minneapolis, where George Floyd was murdered. Target had made all of these commitments. Well, what I understand now is that they have agreed to make good on their commitment financially. They have agreed to make good on some of the other things that they committed to. 3 of the 4 pillars, and I don't even really know what it is because I haven't stepped foot inside of Target. I probably need to do an empathy walk to see who is going in there, but I haven't been in this Target. But my question for you is, if we have demands and then people meet those demands, can people restore themselves? Can organizations restore themselves? Because one thing I'm working on, and I invite anybody to push back on this wherever you can. My former therapist used to say to me that, you know, people would walk over and I wouldn't even let them limp back. Basically saying that once you had crossed me, I'd be like, I forgive you, but I don't forget. That I used to be one of those people who would just be, kind of still am, that everybody got a number. I don't know what your number is until you won past it. But once you won past it, I see you. But honey, you know, my best friend used to be like, you should pray for your enemies. I'm like, I got to think about my enemies to pray for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even on my mind. Like, something happens to me where it's like, once we get past this point, I just cannot. Like, there's nothing in me that goes, yeah, order some Papa John's. And I used to love it with the little garlic butter sauce and everything. Just ain't gonna happen. Like, I don't even think about Papa John's. Like, not at all. I'll be down there making my own pizza for Papa John's coming to my mind. And so when you think about boycotts, is there a point at which your best alternative your agreement, like, do you know what your final negotiating point is? And is it nothing? Is that how we lead our lives with individuals? Is that how we lead our lives in our community? And is that also how we lead our lives in organizations? And that's just I'm just asking, right? Like, I know it's dangerous to come out and even remotely sound like I'm supporting a massive institution like Target. I don't know where I am on it, quite frankly. I got to think about it for a while. Because I don't know anyone who works there. I've not talked to anybody in leadership. I think it would be helpful for me to kind of understand, I'm trying to read what they got out here, and I can't make sense of it, because they're concluding their 3-year diversity, equity, and inclusion goals. Is that because they met them? They're concluding their racial equity action and change initiatives in 2025. That he said that was planned. Ensuring that their employee resource groups or communities fully focused on development and mentorship. That was always the case. Employee resource groups were for that reason. Further evaluating their corporate partnerships to ensure they are directly connected to the roadmap for growth, blah, blah. Stopping all external diversity-focused surveys, including the HRC. I don't know about that one. Like, I want to know that you got an HRC equality index score of 100. But are they still getting 100 even though they're not doing the scorecard? I don't know. See, the dog over here like running into the disc. I don't know, but I think my larger question is, what ultimately do we want? Is there anything that can be done to correct the wrong? And if so, what would that be? Because I believe that for myself, I am not so sure that it always serves me well to be like, you walk over, don't even think about looking back. You can't get back. And so that's something for us to think about. I'm curious to know what y'all think, feel, and believe about this, because I think it's worth a discussion, not just about Target, but about everybody. Everybody as individuals, everybody in community, and everybody when you start thinking about institutions, which are made up of people in communities. So that's all I got. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.